As a holistic nutritionist, I think what we need to understand is that we do shine from the inside out. And it's really important that we not only set the foundation in our nutrition, but what we are mentally capable of doing, what we are physically capable of doing. As we all know, I'm homeschooling, you're homeschooling. So we have to be realistic about what we can and can't do. But if we don't, if we don't have good nutrition as the foundation, and I think the other way I like to put it is if we don't have an interest in using nutrition as medicine, then often what we're doing is we're kind of circling all these other areas, all these other modalities, trying everything, but really we just need to set that foundation when it comes to what we're eating on a day-to-day basis.
I would love you to tell the story of how you got into nutrition and became a chef, because I think what you learnt from the French is actually a really interesting perspective that you have woven into your clinical practice. And it's not only life affirming, but it's quite, it seems to have come full circle. What you learned from the French and living in France and being taught about nutrition there, and now what's becoming quite fashionable. So I'd love you to share that journey with us.
I've started, lots of different businesses around nutrition, and one of them, which I trademarked, which was called Falling in Love with Food. And there's books and there's online programs, and I think that's kind of became the word I wanted people, the saying I wanted people to live: fall in love with food. We're not children. You can have a chocolate, you can have your wine. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, but let's not be unreal, let's not be silly about this. Food has to have a positive slant for it to work. And so if you can put a very positive, love-based environment around food, whether it be the cooking, the choosing, the smelling, whatever it might be, the learning of food, it's going to embed and it's going to stay there, and that foundation will be positive. And then you can build from there as well.
And tell me about some of the specific dietary changes that you recommend in your clinical practice and supplementation.
And then I think it's really important that a level of organisation comes into play, because if you're not being, I always say, if you don't have good cupboard support, if you like, you don't have good fridge support, it's really hard to be healthy. And there are some amazing online services out there that can actually support you through that process. If you're someone who hates cooking, I always try to excite my clients in at least having just the basics of cooking. You don't have to be a cordon bleu chef to be a great cook, but you just need to have a couple of different meals each day that then you can sort of change the protein or change the vegetable, but it will still give you something that is delicious as well.
I'm going to go circle back to what you were saying about the liver, because I would love a little bit of education around the function of the liver in metabolizing the hormones, as you were saying, and also liver cleansing or liver boosting foods and dietary practices that you recommend in your clinical practice.
So when it comes to metabolizing the liver, basically everything gets funneled, for want of a better word, through the liver. So if you think about it, it's a cumulative nature. If your body's having to kind of metabolize a poor diet and hormones, well, what is it going to do first? It actually has to basically get rid of the toxins. I always say, if you're drinking alcohol and then expecting your body now then to metabolize everything else, it won't. It will go through what is the most toxic thing, what has the biggest threat in the body. And that's why it's so important. We're just letting the liver do its job without confusing it and complicating and bombarding it with a poor diet that then means it has to metabolize the food that we're eating and the hormones as well, and everything else that we're possibly doing. So this is why we try and go for as clean, fresh, unprocessed. We don't add too many, overt sort of, processes in cooking where it takes all the good nutrition away with it. And we try and go for a diet that has basically the ability to support liver function.
What you think is just really detrimental to hormonal health and beauty and skin glow? Are there anything that you really advise against?
Obviously, alcohol is a real problem. I think, yes, I also kind of roll my eyes at that. But I personally did 3 months of no drinking this time last year, which was brilliant. I did a lot of podcasts. I learned a lot about sort of, the psychology around drinking, the normalization around drinking, and just tried to kind of, tweak my neurons and reframe it in my brain of how it works. Because what we know about alcohol, it basically dehydrates tissue as fast as it's the biggest thing to dehydrate your body. We know that when a body's in a state of dehydration, one of the things will happen is our stress response will go up through the roof. We'll retain fluid as well. That's one of the big key things. When the cells, expand with fluid, they can't do their jobs functionally. There's less cellular communication going on. So it's really important that, alcohol is something that is seen, as my dad always used to say, you drink alcohol to make yourself feel better, not eat. So you drink alcohol to make yourself feel better, not just a little bit okay. So we're going to use alcohol in a functional way. So if you are someone who's a regular drinker, my advice to you is to have at least 24 to 48 hours. It takes that long for your body to metabolize. So it's really making sure that if you've got to look at this kind of not as sort of what's the perfect diet, but what are the cumulative factors that's going on. So if you're stressed, you've got a poor diet, you've got alcohol, you're having your daily coffee, all of it might be within the daily recommendations, if you like, but it's the way it accumulates on the liver as well. So it's really important that we kind of sometimes just take all of that out. We just focus on a basic diet. So this is when sometimes your detox diets do take, a really good, I've done this 2-week detox diet with my clients for years, but it's not about extreme eating. So it's just about having a good plant-based style, high fat, good animal protein. We take out good plant protein. We take out all the animal protein, all the dairy products, and we just give 2 weeks for the body just to basically go back to basic again. But then basically when we do incorporate these things in our diet, we can metabolize these things more effectively.
But I would like to know, what does ageless mean to you as you're 42?
Yeah.
You're entering that next phase of your life journey. What does it mean to you, and what do you hope for the next 45 years of your life?
I've just worked really hard on self-forgiveness, and I sit there and go, who cares, and I just have a positive dialogue. Even when the shit's hitting the fan, I'm still trying to just laugh, and be positive, because I've just noticed that when I feel that way, I feel ageless. I feel more in touch with my daughter. I kind of understand my mum a little bit more. I don't block myself into that one little box, that maybe I thought was me. I let myself kind of constantly keep moving, be fluid, but I definitely know that I'm now able for the next 40 years of my life or 50 years of my life or however long I'm on this world to be kind to myself. And I feel that is the basis of ageless females. I really do.
What is your fitness routine to remain ageless, vital, fit, glowing?
I find that it's a real balance of walking. I do a lot of yoga. I've always been a massive fan of yoga. So it can be a hot yoga, but it can also be sort of a more sort of passive yin type yoga. But I do find I do need to do something every day. The other thing that's changed a lot is I studied transcendental meditation last year. And I find that any form of meditation is fine. So what I've definitely noticed from doing, was very dedicated for a year. I'm probably not as able, I don't quite do the 2 a day, but I find I can drop into that neurology a lot faster now. And I think that's kind of where that self-forgiving conversation. So I can actually do sort of more active forms of meditation now that I can do when I'm sitting here. I can drop into that mindset a lot faster as well. So those tools, my armor chest, my treasure chest, if you like, is always being added to.